So what's one of the biggest problems in creating revenue? Well, consistency. How do you like to create a revenue stream that makes you money while you sleep? I'm Robert Poole. Welcome to the Growing Your B2B Small Business Show. Today we're going to talk about exactly how to do that, how to create a revenue stream that literally makes you money while you sleep. So stay to the end of the episode, even if you don't think that this is something that's appropriate for you because you saw a big ticket item. I promise you by the end of this episode, you'll see that you can do this too. So please, again, as always, rate this video and subscribe to the channel, and also, leave your comments. I really appreciate the feedback, and I always answer them personally. So let's get started. Creating recurring revenue is really one of the holy grails in business. That's one of the things that really makes a company valuable. And selling a revenue stream is what investors look for when they're purchasing a company, because it really is the lifeblood of the company, and it takes the stress out of your life. I remember 20-something years ago when we started our company at TBR that, we started as a telemarketing company a little bit by accident. And at the time, we were selling our services. We thought, well, everybody else is selling it by the hour, so we'll do the same thing. And so we sold per hour, but we sold them, hours and blocks of hours. So it was like 5 hours or 10 hours worth of telemarketing at, $33 an hour, whatever the number was. I don't remember what it was. The problem was that we found right away that a client would come, they'd hire us, we'd do 10 hours for them. And that was one of our selling points, because a lot of the big telemarketing companies at the time would make you do like 100 hours or whatever, because they knew you weren't going to be back after that, primarily. And so we kind of took the attitude, well, let's do it performance-based, so we'll put our money where our mouth is, so to speak. But the problem, though, is that we would do 10 hours for a client, and then there'd be a pause. The client would go, okay, I'm going to work these leads. I haven't got around to it. And so we'd be having to chase them, contact them, and, basically beg them to start again. And sometimes it wasn't because they were disappointed. They weren't unhappy with the service we were giving them. They just have got other things going on, and they needed a reminder. And so it was just this constant thing that went on for a year or two, I think, and if I remember correctly. And, it was the constant, quote, deal chasing that I've seen so many businesses do over the years, like going from one deal to the next, trying to make the revenue, let's get a big pop here, and then we're on to the next deal, but creating those ups and downs in the revenue cycle. And it's stressful for everybody. You got to pay your bills, Unfortunately, your phone vendor doesn't take ups and downs and pay them when you feel like it or when you get a big deal. They want it consistent every month. And so the better you can match your revenue to that, the better off you'll be. So, at the time, it was really, really frustrating because, again, we were chasing down our clients, even the happy ones, trying to get in the logistics, going back and forth, the stress that it caused because we didn't know what our income was going to be that month, our revenue. We were bouncing around and, kind of felt helpless in what we were doing, and thought, there's no way we're going to make this work at this level, because it's too much hassle, too much work to keep chasing these deals, so to speak, especially because they're so small. But then, my business partner came up with the idea and suggested something. He said, well, and this wasn't done at the time with a lot of our competitors, because they all sold, like I said, in big blocks of time, but it was big blocks, like 100 hours versus our 10 hours that we were selling it for. And what we did is with his advice, we said, hey, let's set somebody up on a recurring plan so that, instead of saying, well, here's 10 hours agreement, you pay us, we do it, then we sign another contract, you pay it, we do it, that sort of thing. It was, hey, we're going to do 5 hours for you this week, and we're going to keep doing 5 hours for you every week, for the next year. And we would have clients sign that contract, and the ones that were happy with us would be happily sign that. And we realized that, wow, this is really working great. And, so we started to make changes to our business, and that really revolutionized our business. It took us from really struggling to, just an amazing growth at the time. But I mean, and thinking back, prior to doing this, the frustration of, not being able to have visibility on our revenue, not be able to, consistently pay our vendors, to be late on our bills because we were waiting for some client to pay us. My business partner at the other time had a painting company that he owned, and he would literally do the same thing. He'd chase down a builder that he was working for to get a check so that he could deposit it Friday to make payroll, and that sort of thing. And we were doing basically the same thing. So when Tui came up with this idea, talk about the stress and everything else, and maybe you're in the same situation. Maybe you can relate, because it was really a tough spot for us at the time. But this changed everything for us. And I think it can change something for you too. So not only does creating a recurring revenue stream, remove the ups and downs of revenue, but it allows some diversification in your revenue. Because some businesses, let's face it, we're built on big ticket items. We're selling something, you're a business broker and you're selling 2 or 3 companies a year maybe, and you're getting a very large commission, but it's, in small, different times, and it's spread out over months on end where you get nothing. But what if you could add to that a recurring revenue that would diversify that income? I mean, what would it be like if suddenly you could pay, you knew that your office rent was paid for or your phone bill was paid for, with that recurring revenue, and you didn't have to do anything. It was already there. And it was a low maintenance type of recurring revenue that didn't take a lot of effort on your part. And so again, you're literally making money while you sleep. And again, stick with me. Even if you have real high ticket or something like a business broker where you're getting 1 or 2 or 3 commissions per year, we can still make this work. So hang in there, I'll explain a little bit more. So again, what does it mean? It means no chasing deals, no stressing over, cash flow, no begging customers to buy, no chasing deals. Again, this revolutionized our company. We were really struggling at the time, and this just exploded us, this whole idea. And we later on in our company, we did different things too. We created other smaller recurring items that when we started out were worth almost nothing. But over time, they grew into big revenue streams for us. So this can change your business like it changed ours. Okay, so let's talk specifics. I mentioned how this revolutionized our business, when we changed our telemarketing model to be more service-oriented and recurring revenue oriented. But, we also did this with smaller products. We had created a sort of a maintenance type of program for clients who didn't want the active calls right now, but they wanted to stay in contact with their clients. They wanted the callbacks being done for prospects. They wanted email marketing to continue, things like that. But maybe they were out of the country for a month or something like that, And so we created a maintenance program, and by relative terms, it was tiny. I think it was $29 or $39 at the time, and this is 20 years ago. And it took very little effort on our part. A good portion of that was profit, probably 50% at the time. And I think it's probably a little bit less these days because of the, particularly now with inflation and everything. But the point is, when we originally did it, we didn't do it as a moneymaker. We created this small subscription really to stay in front of our clients, because again, we would have clients who would use our service for a while, and then they need to take a break for whatever reason, whatever's going on in their business, their life, whatever. And we didn't want them to forget about us. Now, and there's a couple ways you can do that. Of course, you can email people, you can send out value added type of things, articles, videos, help, whatever. But if you can come up with something that's worth paying for, people pay attention to what they're paying for. And the cool thing about subscriptions is, if you have a subscription, we all do. Let's say you have like a Netflix type of subscription. I think, what's mine now? I think on something, one of the smaller plans, let's just say it's, $9.99 or whatever. That doesn't sound like much. And, it's not much to me as a consumer. If you're making minimum wage, that's more significant, if you're making more executive type of pay. But either way, I think all of us have some subscriptions that we kind of forget about because it's so small. The effort you have to go to, to cancel, it's a little bit easier these days with online stuff, but depending on the company, it makes it difficult to cancel sometimes. We've all experienced that, right? You go to cancel something online, and are you sure you want to? Do you want 3 months, at half the cost or whatever? You have to call us. You can't do this online. Then you got to speak to somebody. And you go through this harangue, and they do it on purpose because they know that most people won't go through the effort of it to do it. But again, $9.99 doesn't sound like much, but you start timing that by 100, and all of a sudden you're at $1,000 or whatever. In our case, like I said, I think it was $29 or $39 or something. not much. That doesn't seem like a lot. And the first person we signed up on that, we got great, $29, and we're probably breaking even at that point on what we were doing for them, because again, we were just doing follow-up calls, a few follow-up calls, and sending out follow-up materials and that sort of thing. But it wasn't a lot. But so if we only had, but when we went to two, now we're at what? Yeah, $58. And I'm not going to do my math here because I'm going to embarrass myself on video, but you get where I'm going here. By the time, we reached, let's say 50. What's 29 times 50? Good question. But 3 times 150, 1,500, oh, okay. So roughly maybe 1,450. It's close. I'm not going to worry about the exact numbers because I'm not going to do math in front of you and embarrass myself. But all of a sudden, we had $1,450 of revenue coming in or something close to that. And, what does that mean? That means, at the time, our internet was paid for, most of our telephone bill was paid for, and any other thing. So again, we woke up, and this took, quite a while. This took a year or two to get to that. But the difference it made in being able to go, wow, this bill is already paid this month. And so it was, progress. Then when we got to, 100 times, 29, then we got to double that. We're at, almost 3,000. And so, and I think these days it's significantly above 5 figures. And it was one of those things, like I said, we never intended it to be a huge moneymaker. It was more of a thing to keep, in contact with our clients. They knew they were paying for something, but we were doing work for them. It was legitimate. It wasn't just, one of those things where you pay, 99 cents for it and you never cancel it because it's just too much effort. And even if you're not getting anything for it, it's just effort. So they were getting something for it, but it's a little bit more expensive. And so those are the kind of recurring revenue that any business can have. And again, I know what you're thinking. If you sell high ticket, again, if you're selling a $30,000 computer, hardware or even software for that matter, so how do you actually do this? Well, in that case, it's easy if you have some kind of service that or a product that comes with a service contract, for instance, like our phone provider that we use for our callers. It's a software-based thing, and they have tech support, an enhanced tech support that I think is, $750 a month or something like that. But it's, you get your own account manager and you get this and you get that. And again, that's a recurring revenue for that company. And is it something that they could get by without? Probably. And could we get by without it? Probably. But, it's a convenience, and so we're willing to pay for it. And it's the same thing, if you've got that $30,000, hardware, software you're selling, setting up, some sort of maintenance thing, or even if it's not tech support, even if it's, something that's value added, even again, if it's $99 a month or whatever, to have one extra feature, to, be added to the particular high-end group of clients who are only in this particular group, a closed Facebook group or some sort of thing that makes them a premium client, so to speak, and gets them in community with other clients, and i.e. it connects them more to you. And again, the cool thing about recurring revenue is that it gives you the opportunity to stay in front of somebody and to remind them that you're there, because let's face it, we all have gazillion vendors, and sometimes we don't talk to them for years. I don't remember the last time I talked to our internet provider, Cox, here in Phoenix. But if they could stay in front of us with some kind of recurring revenue model, whatever, we'd probably pay more attention, and we would realize, oh yeah, and then we'd be more apt to see what else they can do, because when we're in contact with them, they're paying for it. They pay attention when we send them an email that says, hey, guess what? We've got a new service, da-da-da-da, and it can help you with this, call us if you want to check this out, type of thing. And we get business from that. And you can get business from the same thing. Again, so it's not just a little bit of money, although that will add up over time. It's how you do it and how you stay in contact with your customers, which will give you bigger money down the road. So really creating a recurring revenue stream, even small, and small are the best kinds, is great in several ways. Again, smooth out your revenue stream, it diversifies it. You have consistent revenue. Your bills get paid in advance, depending on what level you're at, and it helps you stay in front of your clients and your customers, so that you'll be able to get even more business from them. So, recurring revenue is not one of those things you want to miss. I mean, let's say, just imagine it's a year from now. You've done, put into, effect a $29 product, let's say, $9.95 product, $99, whatever, some sort of product, some excuse for a product, extra access to certain resources at your company about how to better use your product, or just industry stuff that will help them. Anything that you can provide that's got some value and it's worth paying for. um, and use that to, if you've used that in the last year, you may have started with one person and now you've got 25 people, or you may have 50 or 100. And then boom, a year from now you wake up and your office rent is paid for, your phone bill is paid for, or hey, you've got enough money that you can do a retreat with all your employees and pay for that, and it's done. So all these expenses are prepaid just by a little tweak that you do to your business. And oh, by the way, it's a great thing for your customer, and your customer's so happy they're going to give you even more business. So you've taken care of your financials. Your stress in your life is a lot less because you're putting together this recurring revenue, and it's an all-round win-win situation. So again, creating recurring revenue is very simple, really, with a little thought. It's easy to implement. It doesn't take a lot of maintenance, not creating a whole new product line or whole new service that you got to do. It's something small, but something that will add up over time. So every business needs to have recurring revenue. And if you think hard enough, regardless of what your business is, you can create a recurring revenue stream. It may start small, but it will grow and it'll be worth it, every bit of it. So I hope this was helpful. Again, really appreciate it if you would provide some comments. I always personally respond to them, and as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast, and give us your rating, whether you think this was helpful to you or not. We also, you can get on our VIP list that will email you different resources and other things as they come out. You'll get inside access to the show and resources that are not available to the public. So go to the link that's in the description here, and you'll be able to sign up for that VIP list. I appreciate your listening, and have a great day.